I want to talk to you about running around the world because for me, my big passion is running, and running is how I've actually worked through feelings of depression and substance abuse that I dealt with in my younger days, and how running's been a really big part of my journey. This is actually my family. This is my dad, her two sisters, my mom in the pink there. And if you look really closely at the front row, at the far right, the little kid holding the trash can, that's me, next to my little brother and my cousins. Grew up on the island. We actually moved here in January of '89 when I was just a couple months old. So really the island is what I knew. It's where I grew up. Had the great pleasure of befriending Nicole and Mimi and lots of awesome friends, and part of a very supportive community here, obviously. It's a wonderful place to grow up. I was really into sports. So this is a picture of my Little League team, 1999. I was 10 years old. I'm the guy kind of squinting and frowning in the front row there. I was very cold when this photo was taken, but we had a ton of fun. We were the 1999 Little League champions, which felt like a really big deal back then. I love baseball, though. That was really my high watermark in my baseball career. It was really all downhill thereafter, after that championship. I had the wonderful opportunity to actually learn a lot from this man. This is Grandpa Charlie, my dad's dad. He lived with us, and I had a chance to really fall in love with history from his stories. He was someone that he fought in the Pacific War, and just learning from him and the adventures and the challenges that he faced was deeply inspiring for me. Though when I was a junior in high school, he had a really bad stroke where we went from having really great conversations each day to not being able to, because he just wasn't himself anymore. And watching him get sicker and then pass away was really, really hard on me. And I felt really sad. And following that began drinking alcohol, as a 16-year-old in unhealthy amounts, and making a variety of unhealthy decisions. But to this day, Grandpa Charlie is really kind of my role model and my hero, and someone that everything I try to do, I try to make Grandpa Charlie proud through my journey. He's been a massive inspiration for me. One of the things that he really encouraged in me was debate. This is a picture of our debate team in the year 2006. That's me there in the little front row next to Coach Gans and my friends Sean and Caroline. We were the three captains of the team, and we had a great time. Bainbridge High School actually ended up winning 4 straight state championships, and that's me with the first place state trophy back in 2007. So I was super, super into debate, loved the teamwork, loved the competition, loved traveling around representing Bainbridge Island. It was always a thrill for me where after you win, they would say, "From Bainbridge Island, Greg," and I would just be really, really excited for the chance to represent. In addition to debate, I loved track. Here's me starting off in the 400 meter. That's one lap around the track, and I loved that. I didn't actually run until I was 18 when I was a senior in high school, but it was love at first sight. And that experience really, falling in love with track has guided a lot of my journey in the years since. I graduated class 2007 with Mimi and Nicole. We had a wonderful celebration that day with my parents and my aunt, brother and sister, and I was off to college. And in college, did a lot of the typical stuff, but the thing I loved most was running. And I kept running and running and running. Here's a picture of me actually in Shanghai, in China, where I actually lived for the 7 years after business school. And actually, I only came back to Bainbridge because of COVID, because of the pandemic really shut down China. So I spent a lot of time in China, 7 years working there as an entrepreneur in the education technology space. But running was the thing I did that made me smile, that made me really happy, that helped me work through various challenges I was facing, and also a chance to see the world and to travel. I've had a chance to run all over, including, this is a volcano in the Andean mountain range in Chile. And I'm running right there, but actually just a couple miles behind me is my dad, who he's also on the island here. He loves running too, and we actually had the chance to run this race together, 250 kilometers through this very, very dry desert called the Atacama It's the driest place on the planet that's not Antarctica. So it's super, super dry, very hot. It got up to 116 degrees and was really, 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 really hard to run when it's that hot, especially when you're from Bainbridge, where it never gets that hot. So after finishing this race, I dreamed of, I want to do something even bigger. And I heard about the World Marathon Challenge, where you run 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents. Whoa, that sounds like a lot of running. I love running. I want to go try it. And so I did. This is me running a marathon in Antarctica. The date is January 31st, 2019. And we've got to run 26.2 miles over ice. If you look closely, that is a bunch of ice underneath my feet. And it's surreal. The only thing you can hear is the sound of your feet crunching the ice and then the wind whipping past your ears. There are no animals anywhere. I saw exactly 1 seagull over the course of 8 hours down here. And it's white as far as the eye can see. It's expansive. It's just absolutely beautiful and stunning and remote and surreal. Words fail to describe. It's a remarkable place. And it's also extremely cold. Even though I'm wearing like 3 layers on my top and on my bottom, I'm still really, really cold. And if you slow down to like get something to eat or to drink something, your hands start going numb, your lips start going numb, your ears start going numb. So you got to keep moving. And it's very crazy seeing the sun right above the horizon for many hours continuously. I just never experienced that up here on Bainbridge. But because we're running 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents, after I finish this marathon in Antarctica, we're immediately flying onward. And so I have a chance to fly then to our next race in Cape Town in South Africa, run in Cape Town. You finish this marathon, and then just like that, you're on another airplane now to Perth, Australia. Run. Now you're absolutely exhausted. You've been running a lot of miles. You're losing track of time zones. You've been on an airplane for a bunch of hours covering these big distances. But now you're flying to Dubai, up in the United Arab Emirates in Asia, more running, over to Madrid, Spain, more running. And now it's really cold in Madrid because it's winter. It's February 3rd. Now down to Santiago, Chile, where it's summer again. So the body's just extremely confused and tired, and you haven't slept much, you're exhausted. And then up to Miami. And actually this moment right here is me crossing the finish line in Miami. And if you look closely, there's that actually is champagne being sprayed on me by friends who are at the finish line, taking picture, taking video to celebrate with me. So it was a really big moment for me, finishing these 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents. And it was this really big achievement, but I also didn't actually feel as happy as I maybe could have or should have. I realized at the end of that race that my body was really hurting. I was really, really homesick. I really just wanted to be with my family, and yet I was heading back to China. And it's only with COVID that I've actually gotten back to Bainbridge Island. And while here on the island, I've gotten so much more time with family, and Bainbridge is actually an amazing place to train as a runner. We have all these great trails. We've got all these great roads that are very hilly, and we've got amazing shoreline. And so I made a goal when I came back. I want to try to run all the way around Bainbridge Island. In fact, I want to do the entire island shoreline in one tidal cycle. So from the time that it's high tide to back, I want to be able to run all the way around, which gives you about 12 hours to do that before the tide washes you out to sea. And so that became my big goal at the beginning of 2020. And then with COVID hitting, it was one thing that kind of kept me focused and kept me moving in the right direction. And so on August 18th, I started out underneath the ferry dock, ferry terminal there, at about 6:30 in the morning. Right as the sun is starting to come up, I take off. And it was really, really fun because a bunch of amazing people, including Jerry, came out to support and to cheer and to encourage me. And it makes a massive difference because This, if you look really closely, that is just a bunch of mud. So like Eagle Harbor, extremely muddy. Manzanita, extremely muddy. Port Madison, extremely muddy. Blakely Harbor, very, very muddy. And it's really tiring. Like, you know, running on pavement can be a little bit tiring too, but when every step you're going like knee deep in mud, it's super exhausting. So having support there makes a massive difference and helped kind of keep me energized as I was going, you know, trying to run 50 miles around the shoreline. It was also super beautiful. So this is a shot from Rockaway Beach with the sun coming up over Seattle. And I am feeling really, really good. I felt like I had my best legs. I'm going fast. It's beautiful. There's all these people out cheering for me. It just feels amazing. And I was having a lot of fun too. So I had a big smile as I'm doing what I love. It's kind of never ending. This is a shot near Lytle Beach on the south end. And, you know, if you look really closely, there's a bend or there's a slope to the shore here. And that's because the tide washes in and out. It creates this sort of hill and slope down to the low tide mark. The result of that is that it's not even on your legs. So your hips kind of take the force a little bit funny. Your knees, your ankles, they're all trying to compensate. And this was one of the hardest parts of the run. And I knew I would deal with this, but it's hard to train for 50 miles of this. But it was really, really challenging doing that. But I also got into a groove and I realized, hey, I got to just keep rolling forward, keep going, keep going, keep going. And the beauty about running is that it's really just putting one foot in front of the next over and over and over again to reach your biggest goals. This is me celebrating at Restoration Point on the very south end near Country Club, the successful mission, because one step at a time, thanks to the encouragement of 150 folks who came out, I was able to run all the way around the island. It turned out to be about 47 miles because I was able to cut through Fletcher Bay more efficiently because the water was so low there. But really, really beautiful day, really amazing experience, having kind of this boyhood dream I'd been thinking about, dreaming of for 25 years, having it come true. After finishing the run around Bainbridge, I had to think again, hey, what's next? What do I most want to do and accomplish? And it comes back to a dream that I've had for many years, and that is running across America. My goal is to run across America starting April 4th, 2021. So actually just a few months from now. I've been training for years and years and years. And this dream really came from a really low moment in my life where I was in a business school. I earned this amazing scholarship to Cambridge University in the UK, thanks to Bill Gates. We were talking about Bill Gates' blog a minute ago. Bill Gates actually funds scholarships. He gave me a scholarship to England, and I was feeling just really down, really lonely while I was in the UK. And basically, I had been drinking too much because I was feeling really sad, and only when I run out of money, I've spent my scholarship stipend not on my rent or on books or things I should be spending it on, but instead on alcohol and on drugs. I have like the most low moment of my life. And I realized in that low moment, I have to find a way to move forward, and I have to do that without drugs or alcohol. And a dream that kind of came to mind was, I want to run across America. And I'm not even sure kind of where exactly the dream came from, but I liked it because it was big, it was crazy, and I knew there's no way I could ever do this if I'm drinking and drugging. So it will keep me away from drugs and alcohol. It'll actually help me find my path and do it the right way. And just last March, I celebrated 3,000 days sober. 3,000 days without drugs or alcohol. And in that time, this is a 3,000 mile run. And so I thought, wow, like now is the moment, now's the time to actually go and do this. And with COVID, I'm back training hard, I'm preparing, and our aim is on April 4th to actually start this with a documentary film team, because our mission isn't just to do this run, it's to do the run as a way to explore America's addiction epidemic. Because in America, there are 40 million people. That's 1 in 7 adults that actually have an alcohol or substance use addiction of some kind. And that's 1 in 7 people. And I've taken calling this the silent epidemic. COVID, it's a pandemic. We're talking about it. We're locked into our rooms and our homes to keep safe. But unfortunately, there's a silent epidemic as well. And actually, COVID's making it a lot worse because a lot of folks are feeling lonely and disconnected. And alcohol and drugs are a way that you temporarily numb that feeling. And I would know because I did that for a long time. So our aim is to actually shine a light there and to hopefully inform and inspire folks that we can better support those in need. So that's coming up. April 4th is our target start. And the mantra that I'm living by here is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that is really, I think, any goal in life, we've got to take the long view, build our fundamentals and go. And it's certainly how you power through addiction and get yourself to recovery. And I think it's how we push our way through COVID-19 and get on the other side happy and healthy, able to enjoy time with our family, and get back to hopefully a better society and one that we're able to re-envision and work to build. Last thread, I'm really grateful for the chance to share a little bit of my story here, and I would actually love to stay in touch. So if you like emailing, here's me, nance.greg@gmail.com. I do like to share stories and photos on Instagram. Greg runs far. And then I'm working on this documentary, which I referenced. You can learn more about us, documentary.org/project/1-7. And yeah, I am grateful for the chance to share here, and I am most looking forward to your questions.
Well, and you have a website too.
I do, yes.
gregrunsfar.com.
.com, that's right.
And so that's where I found out a lot of this stuff is there. I'm amazed at how much you've done in such little time. You're obviously a highly motivated person, and I'm thinking that it must have been very strange to be as motivated and sort of assertive about trying to seize life while also struggling with alcohol and painkillers addiction. I wonder what that, you were running and drugging, right? I mean, your running precedes your sobriety.
Yeah, it was almost like living a double life because on one level, I'm the state debate champion, and you'd expect the state debate champion to have their act together, right? But at the same time, I'm drinking and drugging, on the weekends, then after school, and even before classes as well. Literally showing up to school intoxicated, and it was this double life where I tried to keep those existences separate. Though my time in business school was really the first time where the worlds kind of came crashing into each other, and the drinking and the drugging had finally really caught up to me in a way that was no longer deniable, and I couldn't kind of like wiggle my way out of. Like I was really kind of trapped where I've spent all this money, I'm now in big trouble. What do I do? And so yeah, it's a lot of things I think that have helped me, be a successful runner or entrepreneur. There are also things that make it extra dangerous to be into drugs and alcohol. Like when you have sort of when you're all in and you're high energy and you throw your focus behind one thing, you want to make sure that one thing is healthy and is actually helping you and helping others instead of being very destructive. And so it took me 7 years to really learn that lesson and then to overcome that roadblock, that obstacle. And I wish I had more articulate words on that, but it's a powerful thing, and it's beautiful once you're able to get out of the trap.
And I'm wondering if you had any individuals or organizations that helped you at that point, that when you realized that you were sinking, that helped you kind of figure out, okay, these are the steps I can take.
Yeah. So I had too much pride to actually admit that I had a problem, which is really boneheaded. That's really, really silly and foolish. But I basically was like, hey, I want to be successful. And if I acknowledge I have like a drug or alcohol issue, I'm not going to be successful. That's going to throw me off. And so I was too thick-skulled to actually acknowledge the extent and to get, proper counseling or, therapy or rehab, any of which I think could have really helped me. Instead, I did what's known as white knuckling, where you no, I can't drink. And it I was able to build a few days, then a couple of weeks, then months, then now years. Only recently, after the World Marathon Challenge, have I really like kind of dove, I think, deeper and started really working through some of like the foundational issues there. And it's been really challenging, but also really beautiful. And all the while, there were wonderful people in my life that were very supportive, very encouraging. And yet I wasn't fully honest. I wasn't opening up about really the full extent of challenges. Never acknowledging I had a drinking or drug problem. And it's a lot harder for folks to support each other when we just don't know. And so, my advice to teens and young people and anybody who is dealing with a substance abuse or alcohol issue is to open up and to actually be if you can share openly and vulnerably, there are people in your life that deeply care about you, that love you, that want to be there for you and want what's best for you. And you can then have a much more profoundly powerful conversation and actually get help and be loved for who you are by being honest in those moments, instead of trying to dance around the issue like I did for a bunch of years. So my path is actually not one I advise to others, because it doesn't work usually. I'm very, very fortunate for a number of reasons. Therapy or
it's
AA,
12 hours.
Thank you, Mr. Robot. There are other better ways to proceed.
You live with a robot. Okay.
He tells me the time. So
that's good. Jerry.
Greg, a couple things. I want to congratulate you on you being so successful for your sobriety. That's absolutely wonderful. Warms my heart as a mom. That is great. The other thing is you didn't mention, and I heard during your run, you had to do something special to your shoes when you ran through mud, I believe, or something.
You're right.
And
Yep.
also there was something else that you did with the GPS. So I was able to track you as you went around. And every time I watched you, then I called friends in that area to go out on their porch and wave you on. So tell us a little bit about how you decided to do the special shoes and this GPS tracking.
Wow. And now I know why so many people came out to cheer. It's because of you, Jerry. So I love that. Yeah. So one of the big challenges, and those of us that have gone and kind of walked around at low tide, you can tell hey, this is really mucky and muddy, and it's not the place you want to be running, right? Well, I realized that too, but I still wanted to do this run. And so I consulted the internet and went on Google, and I checked out hey, what do you do for this thick mud bogs? And actually there's a pretty amazing 12th century British technology called mud patens. And it's what the fishermen and oyster harvesters in southern England use to go out miles and miles into tidelands. And it's basically like a snowshoe, but for sea mud. And it's a 12-inch by 12-inch wood board. It's like a little 2x4, and you cut that up. You drill 4 holes into it, and then you get some rope that ties around your foot and gets your foot stuck here. And the beauty is you no longer sink, because at Port Madison, you will sink knee deep, and it's kind of terrifying. It's am I going to drown in quicksand right there? But with the mud patents, you actually sink like a 1/4 inch. It's amazing. And it's physics are just incredible. And so you're able to just skim along the surface, and it's much easier doing that obviously than sinking knee deep every step. So I built those with the help of my dad. My dad is super handy. I'm far less. So we went to the lumber yard, got all that. And then I learned how to tie these. And so, yeah, I had my mom, who's my crew chief, bring these out to Port Madison. And that's where I strapped up, and it made that much easier, because I can't imagine the knee deep stuff. And then what's really wonderful, so I'm wearing this called a Garmin, this black watch here, and it's pretty incredible. This communicates with satellites up in space. And so if you turn on geo-tracking, you can actually share a link where your friends can actually come see, exactly where you are when you're doing these challenges. And so I'm so glad you saw the link, Jerry, and we're able to follow along and to even spread the word. And it's a modern marvel. How does that even work? That's just so amazing that we communicate with the satellite, and the satellite broadcasts, hey, here's the little blue dot slowly moving around the island. So, yeah.
So here's a cute story about that geo tracking. I have a nephew that he built this sailboat, and he wanted to sail from Florida coast to, let's say, Bahamas or Bermuda. And in that stretch, obviously, you would have no communication. And my brother said, "You're not going unless we could track where you are." Well, the irony was my brother didn't my nephew didn't realize how much the communication went out to so many families and friends to watch him. Well,
Wow.
it was like 24/7.
Uh-huh.
And there was a period of time where we couldn't find him. Nobody saw him on tracking. And I called my
Mm.
brother and I said, "Hey, we're not seeing him. You got to check on him." So my brother checked on him, couldn't get him. He contacted the Coast Guard.
Ooh.
And guess where the Coast Guard found him?
Where'd they find it?
Partying with girls on another boat. So that was just a
Busted.
cute
Yeah.
story.
Busted.
So make sure when you're going cross country, you tell everybody where you are.
There we go. Yeah. Otherwise, Jerry's pulling the Coast Guard on me. Yeah.
That's right. So, can you tell us a little bit about the woman who's helping you with this movie?
I certainly can. So I never, I'm not in the media business. I know nothing about making films or movies. Have never done it. But after the World Marathon Challenge, I kind of had this moment where it's like, I should be over the moon. I'm not. I'm feeling actually as depressed as I've ever felt. And it led to a lot of soul searching where it's like, how can that be? Like, I've achieved everything I want to achieve, and yet I'm not happy. And I ended up writing a short story about kind of how I was feeling. And a friend of mine who is in the movie business, he's a screenwriter, said, "Hey, this could just be a short story, but I don't, not many people read short stories these days. People do watch movies. You should turn this into a film treatment." And I, had never thought of that. He basically took me under his wing. I was like, "Hey, it's not as hard as it sounds. I can show you how. I know some people that could help." And I started, turn this thing into a film treatment, and pretty quickly, I was actually meeting some really interesting folks that work in movies that are in Hollywood, and I really just enjoyed how a lot of these folks look at storytelling and want to tell stories that matter, want to help people through this medium that we have. And I got an introduction to this really, really amazing lady in Brooklyn, New York, who's a filmmaker. She's a director, and her passion is about the motivations of people. She likes to understand what makes someone tick. Like, why would someone do this or that? And her two previous big projects were on Justin Timberlake and Prince. And so she's and for them, they're like so musically inclined and like obsessed with their craft, and they're so good at it. And she likes to run herself, but is like, wow, like, how much do you run? Like, why? Like, what makes you want to run across the country? Like, that's insane. And from our conversation, she was like, "Hey, like, I think there's definitely a story here," and the story connects very deeply to the addiction piece too, and the effort at recovery, the effort at redemption. And her name's Sarah Shutsky, and she is very, very, very thoughtful, and she asks really great questions, and she's always able to get like a level or two deeper with kind of her thinking. And she's an aesthetic artist. She's really good at then showing how like we can tell the story and make it beautiful. Yeah.
I'm interested, Greg, in the logistics of your run across the country, and I really appreciate your tenacity. I just want to know how you do it. How you gonna get from here through Chicago over to the East Coast?
Yeah. So Jim, that is actually the thing that kind of keeps me up right now is I am not missing details, and so it's like it's overwhelming even thinking about this. The couple things we have kind of squared up, we're planning to use an RV to simplify and to keep basically a little COVID bubble, because my hope is that the vaccine will already start being distributed, but who knows? And I don't think that will happen at a wide enough scale by April to protect folks. And one of my big goals, I don't want to be a vector for the virus. I don't want to get people sick. And I want to do this run and fulfill this dream, but not do it in a way that's hurting people, obviously. So RV to kind of keep us safe, keep others safe as we go. And then a target of between 40 and 50 miles of running per day, mainly on like rural highways, like kind of back roads. And then there's a number of like decommissioned train tracks that they've turned into like kind of like running trails. And actually those are great because they're like pretty smooth. They're protected from, cars and other potential dangers. And the aim was, to run through this. But then you've got to figure out like, hey, how do you keep yourself fueled? Like I'm going to need 5,000 to 7,000 calories a day. I love to eat, by the way. So that part is very appetizing to me in a lot of senses. So a lot of eating. And then it's figuring out, what foods are going to keep you fueled, what kind of stretching and warm up and warm down are you going to need each day. I'm a creature of habits. Like I'm really trying to like just build good habits, good routines so that that part is autopilot. Just each day, I'm not even thinking, I'm doing my 30-minute warm-up stretches. Now I'm doing, my little breakfast smoothie, and then I'm out the door and jogging to start doing the morning mile. So trying to build up more of that. Luckily, in the film business, the producers are the super detail-oriented folks. So we found a guy and brought him on board named Gavin Sullivan, who's awesome. He wrote for the Financial Times for a bunch of years, and then realized, hey, like I want to tell stories visually as well. And with my storytelling capacity and like nose for details, I can do that. So he'll hopefully be on the RV with us and actually plotting out each of those steps. We're planning to go from New York City with one foot in the Atlantic, down to Philadelphia, over to Pittsburgh, through a bunch of kind of backcountry, through Gary, Indiana, Chicago, Standing Rock Reservation, Spokane, and Seattle. So we've got some of the big nodes now, but within each of those, there's a lot of decisions to be made about the route and then how to get logistics and operations together. And luckily, Gavin has taken charge there.
All right, it'll be great to watch that happen, and I'm looking forward to it. And Jerry will tell us exactly where you are every step of the way.
Hey, Greg, I was wondering, are you ever planning on going back to China?
So yes, I'll go back, though I love Bainbridge and the Seattle area. So I'm hoping to settle here, live here, one day have a family here, hopefully. Though I think China is just an abundantly interesting place. And after spending 7 years there, there's so many opportunities. And I think one of the biggest challenges we're going to face in the 21st century is how does China become a responsible member of the global community? And with some of the relationships and some of the experiences, I'd like to be part of that solution. Though right now is not a very safe time, in my view, to be an American business person in China with a variety of thefts and even assaults and disappearances and things of Western business people over there. It doesn't feel very safe to me. So I'm in no hurry to get back, though I would like to be part of the solution in the future.
Thank you. And I also want to know, how many pairs of running shoes have you worn out?
Oh man, I wear Brooks running shoes, which are very durable. But yeah, after 500 or 600 miles, you're ripping through them. And especially if you're running on the shoreline and other rocky, sharp places. So I go through a pair every like 2-ish months. It'll be kind of on to the next. And yeah.
So the name of the company that you like to buy from is Brooks, you said?
Brooks, yeah, Brooks, and they're a Seattle company, and all they do is running shoes. So they're really, really high quality and made with love.
Okay, well, thanks.
Are they a sponsor of yours?
They are, yeah. So they've been super supportive of my various shenanigans around the world. So yeah.
Have you others? Sponsors?
I've got a couple. So actually, just today we just shared newest partners called Vertava Health, and it's this amazing group that does mental health plus substance abuse therapy and counseling. And the cool part about it is actually you can get the help over your phone because in this time with COVID, it's not safe to be traveling long distances, and a lot of people are they're in a bad place. How do I get help? Vertava Health is part of that. And we're partnering. They're actually helping to fund the documentary. So I'm really, really grateful for this new sponsor too.
Well, as somebody who has run no farther than a half marathon, I am duly impressed. So I can't even imagine what it's like to do 3 or 4 times that. And I guess it's, as you said, just one foot in front of the other.
Hey, the first half marathon's the hardest. It's all between your ears ultimately. And if you can run 13 miles, you can do 14, you can do 15, 16, 17, that's my perspective. So you've got it in your reading.
Thank you very much for spending some time with us. This was wonderful.
Yes,
Really-
thanks very much, Greg. That was just terrific.